Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by beautiful hills and a sparkling river, there lived a girl named Abby. She was 20 years old and very pretty. Her skin was light like the sun, and her eyes sparkled like stars. Abby was kind and gentle. Sadly, she had no parents. They had passed away when she was very young. So, she lived with her aunt, who was not nice at all. Abby's aunt was very wicked. She was jealous of Abby's beauty and goodness. Instead of loving Abby, she made her work very hard every day. Abby had to clean the house, wash the clothes, and cook meals. While Abby worked, her aunt's children played games and did nothing to help. They laughed at Abby and called her names, but Abby never cried. She was strong and kept working, hoping for a better day. Every morning, Abby woke up early. She would sweep the floors and wash the dishes. Her aunt would sit around, watching her with a mean smile. "Abby, you should be thankful to have a roof over your head," her aunt would say, even though she never treated her like family. Abby just nodded and kept working. One sunny day, Abby's aunt shouted at her, "Go to the village stream and get some water. And hurry up." Abby felt scared. She had heard stories about a scary creature that lived near the stream. It was said to be big and ugly, and it liked to scare people. But Abby knew better than to question her aunt. She quickly grabbed her water pots and started walking to the stream. The path to the stream was long, and the sun was shining bright. Abby tried to be brave. She thought about how nice it would be to play like her cousins instead of walking all the time. As she walked, she imagined herself dancing by the river and laughing with friends. But then, she remembered her aunt's angry face and pushed those happy thoughts away. When Abby finally reached the stream, it was beautiful. The water sparkled in the sunlight, and little fish swam happily. But Abby felt nervous. She looked around, hoping to see other villagers, but the place was quiet. "Maybe I should go back," she thought. Just then, out of the bushes jumped a horrible creature. It was big and had a twisted body. Its eyes glowed like fire, and it roared loudly. Abby froze in fear. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't move. Suddenly, from the water, a bright light appeared. It was the river goddess. She looked like a beautiful lady with long hair flowing like the water. "Stop," she said to the creature. "Leave this girl alone." The creature hesitated and then vanished back into the bushes. Abby was amazed. She knelt down and said, "Thank you, kind goddess. I was so scared." The river goddess smiled at her. "You are brave, Abby. Remember, true beauty comes from kindness and courage," she said. With that, the goddess waved her hand, and the water sparkled even more. Abby felt something magical inside her. She filled her pots with water and hurried back home, feeling stronger. When she arrived, her aunt was waiting. "Where have you been? You took too long," her aunt shouted. But Abby stood tall and replied, "I met the river goddess today. She told me I am brave and kind." Her aunt laughed loudly. "You think a silly goddess cares about you? You're just a pretty girl who does all the work." Abby felt sad, but she remembered the goddess's words. She decided she would not let her aunt's mean words hurt her anymore. Days passed, and Abby continued to work hard. She cleaned, cooked, and took care of everything in the house. But now, she also spent her evenings by the river, talking to the goddess and learning about bravery and kindness. The goddess taught her to believe in herself. One day, as Abby walked by the river, she noticed a handsome young prince watching her from the other side. His name was Prince Nebi. He had heard stories about Abby's beauty and kindness but had never seen her before. He was amazed at how lovely she looked, even while walking by the river. Prince Nebi watched Abby every day from a distance. He wanted to talk to her but was afraid. One afternoon, he gathered his courage and crossed the river. Hello, he said, smiling. Abby was surprised and shy. Hello, Prince Nebi, she replied softly. They talked and laughed for hours, sharing stories about their lives. Prince Nebi learned about Abby's difficult life with her wicked aunt. He felt sad for her and wanted to help. You deserve to be happy, Abby. You should not have to work so hard, he said. Abby smiled, feeling warm inside. No one had ever cared for her like that before. As days turned into weeks, Abby and Prince Nebi met secretly by the river. They shared their dreams and hopes. Abby dreamed of a life where she could be free and happy, while Prince Nebi dreamed of a kingdom where everyone was treated kindly. They liked each other more and more each day. But Abby's aunt was becoming suspicious. She noticed Abby spending time by the river and saw the prince visiting. One day, she decided to follow Abby to find out what was happening. When she saw Abby talking to the prince, her heart filled with anger. I will not let this pretty girl steal my prince, she thought. That night, Abby's aunt devised a wicked plan. She called Abby into the kitchen and said, "You need to go to the market tomorrow and buy some special herbs. It's very important." Abby agreed, thinking it was just another chore. But her aunt was planning to keep her away from Prince Nebi. The next day, Abby went to the market. She looked for the herbs her aunt wanted, but she felt sad and alone. She missed Prince Nebi and their happy talks by the river. As she walked through the market, she saw beautiful things, colorful fabrics, delicious fruits, and pretty flowers. But none of it made her heart feel better. After finishing her shopping, Abby decided to take a different path home, hoping to see the prince. She walked to the riverbank and smiled when she saw him waiting for her. "Abby, I've missed you," he exclaimed, running toward her. They hugged, and Abby felt happy again. They spent the afternoon sharing stories and dreams. But Abby's aunt had been watching. She saw Abby and Prince Nebi together and grew furious. "I will put an end to this," she shouted to herself. That night, she locked Abby in her room, determined to keep her away from the prince. The next morning, Abby woke up to find her door locked tight. She pounded on it, crying, "Let me out. I need to see the prince." But her aunt only laughed. "You will stay here until you forget about him," she said cruelly. Abby felt hopeless. She sat on the floor, tears streaming down her face. But then she remembered the river goddess. "I will not give up," she said to herself. She thought about how brave the goddess had told her to be. Abby looked around the room and saw a small window. It was high, but she knew she had to try. She climbed on a chair and reached for the window. With all her strength, she pushed it open. Outside, the sun was shining, and the birds were singing. Abby took a deep breath and climbed out of the window. She ran as fast as she could toward the river, her heart racing with hope. "I must find Prince Nebi," she thought. When she reached the river, she found him waiting, looking worried. "Abby, I was so afraid something happened to you," he cried. Abby hugged him tightly. "My aunt locked me in, but I escaped," she said, feeling free and happy again. They spent the day at the river, talking about how they could be together. Prince Nebi promised to help Abby. "I will speak to my father, the king. He will know what to do about your aunt," he said. Abby felt a spark of hope. Maybe she could finally be free from her aunt's wickedness. But Abby's aunt was not done with her yet. She found out Abby had escaped and became even angrier. She went to the king and told him lies about Abby. "Your son is in danger. This girl is a bad influence," she shouted. The king listened to her lies, not knowing the truth. One day, the king ordered Abby to come to the palace. Abby was scared but knew she had to be brave. When she arrived, she saw the king sitting on his throne. Prince Nebi stood beside him, looking worried. "What is the meaning of this?" the king demanded. Abby took a deep breath and told her story. She spoke about her life with her aunt, the hard work, and the jealousy. She told them about the river goddess and how she had helped her. As she spoke, the king's expression changed from anger to concern. He turned to his son, Prince Nebi, and said, "Is this true?" "Yes, father. Abby is kind and brave. She deserves a better life," Prince Nebi replied. The king thought for a moment. "We must take action. Abby should not suffer because of her aunt's wickedness." The king decided to confront Abby's aunt. He called her to the palace and demanded to know the truth. When she arrived, she was shocked to see Abby standing there. "You! How dare you come here?" she shouted. But the king was not afraid. "You have treated your niece poorly. It is time for you to face the consequences of your actions," he said firmly. The king ordered Abby's aunt to leave the village and never return. She screamed and protested, but the king's word was final. Abby felt a weight lift from her heart as she watched her aunt leave. Finally, she was free. With her aunt gone, Abby could live her life the way she wanted. She spent more time with Prince Nebi, and they grew closer every day. The villagers admired Abby for her bravery and kindness. They welcomed her with open arms, and she felt loved for the first time. One day, while sitting by the river, Prince Nebi took Abby's hand. "I want you to be my queen," he said, looking into her eyes. Abby's heart soared. "Yes. I will be your queen," she exclaimed, filled with joy. They laughed and danced by the river, feeling like the happiest people in the world. As time went on, Abby and Prince Nebi prepared for their wedding. The whole village celebrated, and even the river goddess blessed their union. On the day of the wedding, the sun shone brightly, and flowers filled the air with sweet scents. Abby wore a beautiful dress, and Prince Nebi looked handsome in his royal attire. When they exchanged vows, everyone cheered. Abby felt like a princess, and she knew her dreams had come true. She had gone from living with a wicked aunt to becoming a queen, all because of her bravery and kindness. After the wedding, Abby and Prince Nebi ruled the kingdom with love and fairness. They helped the villagers and made sure everyone was treated kindly. Abby never forgot the lessons she learned from the river goddess. She remained humble and always remembered to be kind to others. And so, Abby's story became a tale of hope and bravery in the village. It reminded everyone that even in the face of wickedness, kindness and courage could shine through. Abby and Prince Nebi lived happily ever after, surrounded by love, laughter, and the beauty of the river that brought them together.